Hey guys, sorry to have to do this again, but this week will be another show from the vault. As you hear this, I am in Canada, still on a wee vacation with my son visiting the dear old Ma, which came up kind of short notice, so the timing just didn't allow us to record a show before I left. I did do a short show with my son for patrons yesterday, but that was just for fun. Anyway, this is episode 37 from season 4, another super obscure bit of history that involves Thai cannons, sultanates, and the French Revolution. It's a great story. Hope you like it. We'll be back to our regular, no good shenanigans next week, back on track. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks, guys. On this episode, we dive into two fascinating stories of how Thai cannons played a huge role in some of history's most important battles.
So if you want to peek into some lesser known Thai history, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, this be the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 to follow my dream of a cubicle-free life while I work from beaches around the world. To find out how, buy my ebook.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract almost 20 years ago. Fell in love with looking to the left, looking to the right, looking to the left again, looking to the right again, before I crossed the street. So I never left.
Safety first.
There you go. We want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Eric Watkins, who supports us at the show shout out level. Stick around after we're done looking at some interesting Thai cannon history to hear why Eric's relationship with Bangkok is similar to a famous Greek adventurer. A huge thanks to all of our patrons like Eric who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our regular show a day early, behind the scenes photos and videos of our interviews, discounts on swag, which you can find on our website, and various other things that aren't available to regular listeners. But best of all, patrons get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and random topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about the Big Lebowski, busy restaurants in Bangkok, opening soapy massage parlors, and how the Black Lives Matter movement might just make skin whitening creams in Asia a thing of the past. To become a patron, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support.
Right. Opening the soapy massage places, which technically don't exist in Thailand.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, on this episode, we wanted to dive back into our history series with a show all about guns, specifically cannons, or cannon, if you want to be a grammar Nazi. But at any rate, if you're a fan of Thai history, there are some fascinating stories about the weapons of war, and specifically some of the cannon that have been used in previous sieges and battles. Now, this is super fascinating for me personally, because I'm a history nerd. So we're going to cover two stories on the show that are little known by those outside of the sphere of nerdy Thai history. One of them dealing with an invasion of what is now Pattani province in southern Thailand, and the other dealing with a little incident known as the Siege of the Bastille during the French Revolution, which you may have heard of. Both of these stories, prominently featuring Thai cannon.
Wow. Now that, when you told me you want to do the story, and you started talking about the Bastille, I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I find so fascinating about this, because I've been wanting to do this show for a long time. And I've been wanting to do the show about the Pattani story for a long time, but I never figured that there was enough material there for a whole show until I came across a blog by this guy named Ken Lohatepanon, who is a Thai guy who lives in America. He's a political scientist and an author and a journalist. And he had a really, really interesting story about Thai cannon as well. And I thought, boom, there's our show. We can do two of these stories. So I reached out to Ken, and he said, sure, you can go ahead and use my blog as a source for your show. So let's get into it.
Well, let me say this. Let me tell you everything I know about Thai cannons up until this moment.
Okay.
Everything I know is that if you go down near Sanam Luang, like the center part of the city where there's a bunch of government buildings, one of them is like the Ministry of Defense, and in front of it are a bunch of cannons.
Right. That's it.
That's it. That's everything I know.
That's where the story ends.
And I always thought they're pretty cool. Like I've gone past those cannons many times. They look cool. They look old and cool and whatever. And then when you brought up doing this show, I was like, oh yeah, those cannons. But that's it. That's all I got, man. I've driven past those cannons. You and I stopped by there today to take a quick photograph. So we got some photos of us in front of the cannons. But that's all I know, dude. So educate me.
Well, one of those cannon will be what the second story is about, but the first story actually comes from Ken's website. And he, like I said, he has kindly agreed to let us quote his blog on this curious incident from history that involves Thailand, cannon, and the French Revolution. So most people have heard of the storming of the Bastille, an event that helped touch off the famous revolution in France, one of the defining events of the Western world.
Yes.
So check this out. On the morning of July 14th, 1789, almost exactly 231 years ago today, Ed, as we're recording this, a large crowd had gathered outside of the Bastille prison in Paris. As a symbol of royal tyranny, they demanded that it be surrendered to the crowd and its weapons and gunpowder handed over to the revolutionaries. After several hours of negotiation, the crowd grew antsy, someone shot a gun, and bam, the storming of the Bastille was on. But with hardly any weapons to, make their point, some members of the crowd took off to search for weapons to help the siege, returning with some guns and 20 cannon. But only 2 of these cannon were functional, and these 2 cannons helped in the bombardment of the Bastille, which eventually led to its surrender. And Ed, I'll give you one guess which country those 2 cannons came from.
Are you trying to tell me, and I feel a little bit bad saying this, but I feel Thai people would back me up on this. Are you telling me of the 20 cannons, the 2 that worked actually came from Thailand?
That's right. Now I'm going to be quoting now from Ken's blog. It begins with the ascension of King Nai in Siam. Coming to power in 1656, he reigned over what was then one of the world's most prosperous cities, Ayutthaya. The king was known to be, at least for the era, remarkably open and tolerant, interested in foreign affairs and cultures. Diplomatic missions were sent to many countries, but the foreign interaction that came to define King Narai's reign, however, was not with the Chinese or the Greeks, it was with the French. Sensing the openness of the Siamese monarch and seeking to expand French influence in the region at the expense of the Dutch, the dirty Dutch, ambassadors bearing letters from King Louis XIV and Pope Clement IX arrived at Ayutthaya's court in 1673 with a message that said, "We beg you, very great and powerful king, to send us ambassadors. May our friendship be strong and everlasting." So that's a quote from Ken's blog.
Great. So I have heard about this relationship between the French and the Thai king. So I have heard about this.
Yeah, it was a big deal back in the day. So with this gesture of goodwill, several embassies were sent back and forth over time, the French to Ayutthaya and the Siamese to Paris, until the fateful embassy of 1686, led by Thai ambassador Kosa Pan. I think that's a cool sounding name. It sounds like a bad guy from like some historical epic. So, quoting from Wikipedia, Kosa Pan's embassy was met with rapturous reception and caused a sensation in the courts of society of Europe. The mission landed at Brest, France, before continuing its journey to Versailles, constantly surrounded by crowds of curious onlookers. Sounds like a party.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, quoting again from Ken's blog, it would be during this embassy that the silver Siamese cannons were given to King Louis XIV as gifts from King Nai. Little, of course, did they know that these cannons would come to play a role in the collapse of his dynasty. But philosophically, the embassy may also have played a role in the eventual demise of the Bourbons. According to Meredith Martin, critics would later charge that it was beginning with the Siamese reception that the Sun King, King Louis XIV, raised his court to an Asiatic luxury he could not sustain.
Fascinating. I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. As the historian R.S. Love explained, the object was to present the French monarch to the Siamese not as a European prince constrained by fundamental laws and the privileges of corporate bodies, but as an omnipotent Asian despot, equal to King Nai in power, wealth, remoteness from his subjects, and even personal divinity, to give the Siamese ambassadors an exalted idea of Louis's greatness and magnificence according to Eastern expectations. So basically, he's like, these Asian guys are coming from Siam to my court, and I want to give them the impression that I am way more powerful than I actually am.
So basically, he was flexing.
Yeah, totally. He did the 18th century version of flexing, or 16th century, I guess. So that sort of gave him this, put him on the track to this regalness that he could not sustain, which eventually
that is
resulted in his
fascinating.
downfall.
But he got but the Siamese gifted them 2 silver cannons.
Yeah, so as part of the gifts that were exchanged, they gave him 2 silver cannons. Now, those 2 silver cannons sat on display for 103 years until they were dragged over to the Bastille and used to lay a Thai-style smackdown.
Wow.
I think that's really cool. And quoting from Wikipedia that describes how the whole thing went down, 98 attackers and 1 defender had died in the actual fighting, a disparity accounted for by the protection provided by the garrison by the fortress walls. The governor of the Bastille, Bernard René de Launay, was seized and dragged towards the Hôtel de Ville in a storm of abuse. Once at the hotel, the badly beaten Launay shouted, "Enough! Let me die!" and kicked a pastry cook named Dulé in the groin. Launay was then stabbed repeatedly and died. An English traveler, Dr. Edward Rigby, noted what he saw. "We perceived 2 bloody heads raised on pikes, which were said to be the heads of the Marquis de Launay, governor of the Bastille, and Monsieur Flacelet, prévôt des marchands. It was a chilling and horrid sight. Shocked and disgusted at the scene, we retired immediately from the streets."
And who would have thought that Thailand would play any role in this whatsoever?
I know, it's crazy, right? Like, these 2 cannons just sat there collecting dust for a century, and then they were dragged out of storage.
And then they worked, and no other cannons worked.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's just fascinating. Like you said, when you first read that story, you're like, what? The French Revolution, like the famous one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But so many thanks to Ken for letting us use his blog as a source for that. But wait, Ed, there's more.
All right.
Yeah. In 1785, just 4 years before the storming of the Bastille, another cannon played an important part in Thai history, although technically this cannon was not even made in Thailand. So this part of the story starts in the Sultanate of Pattani, an independent kingdom that was founded in the 13th or 14th centuries in an area that is now made up of Thailand's southern provinces of Yala, Narathiwat, and Pattani. The Sultanate's power went back and forth over the centuries, sometimes independent, sometimes as a vassal state, and so forth, and the threat of invasion from the kingdom of Ayutthaya was always at the back of everyone's mind, so just in case, in the early 1600s, Sultan Ratu Biru asked a Chinese craftsman named Tok Khayan to make some cannons, or cannon. Mr. Khayan apparently wanted to make an impression, so he made his cannon pretty huge and named them Seri Pattani and Seri Negara. They were made of brass and were 2.7 meters long, just almost 10 feet long.
Those are big. Those are big cannon. That's as a non-expert, I'm telling you, that's big.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of metal. So they guarded the Sultanate and were just sort of sat there for a while. But eventually the cannon got their day in 1767, about 150 years after they were cast. After the Burmese thrashed Ayutthaya and left everything in a confused, leaderless mess, Pattani declared its full independence. I mean, why not, right? They got these 2 huge cannons pointing out of the gates.
That's right.
So, like, no one's going to mess with us, right? But this little move didn't last too long, and after uniting the remnants of the kingdom of Ayutthaya into the kingdom of Siam, King Taksin the Great sent his general, Bowan Mahasura Singanath, who was actually the younger brother of the future King Rama I.
Ah.
Yeah, he sent him south to reassert their dominance over the Sultanate of Pattani. So you might think an epic battle was coming, but spoiler alert, the Sultanate was thrashed and placed back under Siamese control. According to local sources, several thousand prisoners of war were brought back to Thonburi to start working on the canals of the new capital. But just to make sure that everyone got the message that Siam was back, baby, the army also took the iconic Seri Pattani and Seri Negara cannons as spoils of war, just to drive the point home, you know.
Gotcha.
You know, but while loading them onto the boat, the Seri Negara fell overboard. And Ed, I don't know if you've ever tried to raise several tons of bronze from the bottom of the ocean using 18th century technology, but I imagine it's damn near impossible.
As a matter of fact, I have done that.
You have? How did it work out for you?
What are the odds? What are the odds that I have a past life as an oceanographer?
Right. So this cannon fell overboard, and the Siamese just said, to hell with it. They got the message. We're not going down after that thing. We'll take the Seri Pattani and leave it at that.
So one of them is still at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, fast forward to today, the Seri Negara still sits at the bottom of the Gulf of Thailand, and the Seri Pattani, now renamed Piatani, or Pattani, I'm not sure how you pronounce it correctly, is sitting outside of the Ministry of Defense, right across the road from the Grand Palace. Trivia note, the Pattani cannon is still the official provincial seal of the province of Pattani. And yeah, you and I went down there today to take some pictures of it.
That's right.
Yeah, we did see the Pattani cannon. We weren't allowed to get too close because some guards with guns yelled at us, but we got a nice picture, which we'll send out to our patrons. And yeah, so there it sits. Right now, as you listen to this, the Pattani cannon is sitting outside the Ministry of Defense, just across the street from the Grand Palace. So I thought that was a really cool story.
Excellent, man. I like it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's still a symbol of the Pattani province. So if you we'll also send that as to our patrons too. But if you want to Google that, there you go. That's what the cannon is. And we do have a little third short cannon story to wrap things up on this episode. Now, if you've ever been to Central Embassy on the corner of Sukhumvit and Wireless Road, can you imagine where I am, Ed?
Of course, I know. Of course, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah. Well, you might have noticed a giant white concrete ball-looking thing on the sidewalk just outside of Central Embassy.
I have seen that before. It looks like, because I walked past there many times, because I used to live on Sukhumvit, so I won.
Right.
It looks almost like something that might be there to block like a terrorist attack or something like it. It's just a big hunk of concrete. It looks like it's designed to stop like a giant van full of explosives.
like a bollard outside of the embassy or something.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you look closely, it's actually a cannon, a cement cannon pointing down into the ground.
Oh, I don't think I ever realized that.
Yeah. And once you realize that and look at it, you're like, oh, yeah, now I see it. Otherwise, it just looks like this big ball of stuff. Actually, I think this thing is officially known as the Thing. Like, that's how people refer to it.
The Thing? Really?
Yeah, the Thing, yeah. But turns out that it's a boundary marker. So you see, back in the early 1900s, when Lert Taputra, I'm probably butchering that, I apologize, a.k.a. Nai Lert, bought a remote piece of swamp on the Sansab Canal, he built 6 cement artillery pieces to mark the boundaries of his land, and this cannon, the only one remaining of those 6, marked the southeast corner of his property.
Ah, I see. Okay. So it's a boundary marker.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, he would eventually go on to build the Nai Lert Hotel and sell a piece of his land to the British Embassy at a handsome profit, who in turn sold it to the Central Group for an even more better, handsomer profit.
I'm sure.
Yeah, win-win all around. So there we go. 2 big cannon stories and 1 short cannon story about Thailand's fascinating history with cannon.
Well, I got to tell you, my knowledge of Thai cannons has been multiplied 1,000 times.
Yes, exactly. What's 1,000 times 0? Is it still 0? I can't
That's
remember
right.
how that works. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think I love these little sort of like little peeks into history, especially about Thai history, which is something that not a lot of foreigners obviously know much about. But it does give you a cool little insight into how things developed and grew over the years. And in the case of the cannon in France, I mean, who knows that, right?
Agreed, man. Dude, we are doing our job of educating people on Thai history.
That's right. We are educators. Now, like we said, patrons are going to get a bunch of photos, including a photo of Ed and I looking cool in front of the Pattani cannon.
I don't know about looking cool, but we are in front of the Pattani cannon.
We are in front of the Pattani. Well, it's in the background, but like I said, some guards with guns yelled at us when we got too close. So
That's
we
right.
want to pick a fight with those guys. And again, many thanks to Ken Lohatepanon for letting us use his blog as a source. Find him online at kenlwrites.com or Ken L. Writes on Twitter. And we'll put a link to the show notes, to his blog in the show notes too. So many thanks for that, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
So there we go. Cool stuff. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with, no matter how we feel about it. And this week, it is your turn, dude.
Okay, I got something for you. I don't know if we've ever talked about it before.
All right.
So this is something, again, you can't really love it, but I'm just curious if it's...
So this is loathe or live with?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just curious if it's anything that's ever really bothered you, or if you've ever been in any weird situations.
All right.
So you and I mean, you're a bigger dude than I am, but we're both fairly tall by Thai standards. And a lot of buildings were not constructed with you and I in mind.
It's an understatement.
Yeah, and I know
buildings, table, chairs, street food.
But things. occasionally, I come across a case where I feel that a railing is just too low, and that like it's like I feel like a railing should be at my kind of up to my hips, so if I got pushed or shoved, I would hit the railing. But I feel like some Thai railings are like lower, like they're halfway across my thigh, so that I could easily flip over the railing.
Really, I've never noticed this.
You've never noticed the low railing thing?
No.
Okay.
I have noticed, like, the last time I was up at Sirocco on top of State Tower, looking out over the railing, like the glass railing, which comes up to just above my hips. I'm like, this could probably be 3 or 4 inches higher. But for most people, it's probably just fine.
I'm guessing that I think Thai construction has gotten better over the years. I'm sure they have some regulations on this. And to be honest, I don't have any specific example, but it's like just occasionally I feel like I'm at a bar or I'm somewhere and I go up to like the railing to look out, and it's just I'm like, this should be taller.
I guess so. I mean, if it's going to come up to like mid torso of most people, it's not going to hurt anyone if it comes up to chest level. So they could probably add a couple of inches onto there. But I've never really noticed it unless I'm staring into the yawning chasm of a 60-story drop onto Sukhumvit Road or to Siam Road.
Well, I guess it's more frequent that your head is smacking into something that happens.
Yeah,
that happens
or
more often, huh?
The biggest one for me is when I sit at a chair at a restaurant or something, and I can't put my feet flat on the ground because the table would lift up by 3 inches off the ground.
Oh, because because like your legs would lift, your thighs are pushing the table up, right?
Yeah, because not the femur bone, but the other one in my shin bones are too long, I guess. And if I put my feet flat on the ground, the table would be on a slant for everyone else. So, yeah.
God, imagine if we were genuinely big by Western standards. Then this place would be a very odd place to hang out.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember when I went to Japan, though, and I have a funny picture of me standing outside of a bathroom, and the door comes up to like my nipples.
I mean, there's a couple bathrooms like that in Bangkok, but
yeah. But I will. Okay, so for this, I'll say it's a live with. It's not something I've ever really noticed, except at a couple of special spots, but. They could probably add a couple of inches on there and it wouldn't hurt anyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I wonder I'm curious if any of our listeners have any thoughts about this. I feel like it used to be worse. Since I've been here 20 years, it's possible that things have gotten better and they've just, there's a lot of new construction. So if you go to a new mall, the railings are all properly, it's proper height for like anyone, like Westerners, if you're into one of the new malls.
Right.
So I'm guessing it's older buildings. This might be more common. But.
Well, you remember when Paragon first opened? There was a 2-year-old girl who was walking around and she fell between the floors. Right. Like there was a gap.
Right. I think she it was like between railings or something like.
Yeah. So I think instances like that have, eventually happen from time to time, and over the years, I think the Thai codes have maybe sort of been built up a little bit, said like we need to be more careful with these kind of things. So maybe that had something to do with it.
And that's a good thing. And that is a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah.
Okay. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Eric Watkins for lending us his support at the show shout-out level. And Greg, what did you find out about Eric? Well,
Edward, when Eric was telling me the story of how he came or will come back to Bangkok, the only thing I could think about was Greek mythology, and here's why. So Eric said he had always wanted to visit Thailand, and he finally spent a week here a few years ago in Bangkok. He really liked it, but when his visit was over, he headed back to the U.S. to get on with his life, and he was like, all right, that was fun, on we go. And a little while later, he got a job offer back here in Bangkok, but guess what he said, Ed? Nope.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wasn't ready to move back. He was like, no, I'm done. I have my week in Bangkok. I'm good. But like a lot of people who visit Bangkok, he couldn't get it out of his mind. It kept calling to him, calling his name, Eric.
Oh, really?
Come to me, Eric. And he couldn't resist, and back he came. And you know what this is, Ed? This is the story of Odysseus. Eric is Odysseus, and Bangkok are the sirens calling to him to come and visit.
Bangkok actually has some real sirens. He might have been getting some text messages or something. I don't know.
That's right. So long story short, Eric eventually did move back here for work, and he was here for a while. He ended up going back home, but the sirens of Bangkok, Ed, they keep calling. And if you remember,
they do. They certainly do.
And if you remember, Odysseus lashed himself to the mast so he wouldn't be tempted by the sirens. But we say, forget the ropes, Eric. Don't lash yourself to anything. Come to us. Come to the sirens of Bangkok. And,
give in. Just give in.
Just give in. Just slide into the bath. It's cool, man. It's all good. So Eric says he's working on a plan to get back here and be with his lady friend who he was with when he was here. But until then, the podcast holds him over. So I think when Eric finally moves back to Bangkok, we should greet him as Odysseus. But hopefully he won't have to lash himself to anything here to keep him from enjoying himself.
Yeah, I'm anti-lashing. I think it's a bad idea.
Generally, yeah. So thanks, man. Thanks, Eric, for the support, buddy. We appreciate it. And we hope you're doing well over there in the States. And we hope to see you back here soon. And is there a bar? There's got to be a bar in Bangkok called Siren or something like that.
There should be. There really should be.
There should be, yeah. Yeah, well, we'll figure that out. And if there is, that's where we'll meet you for a beer.
Okay, a final thanks to all of our patrons who help keep the show ad-free. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Totally. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can chat with us online or even reach me directly on Twitter if that's your thing, where I am BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Wash your hands, stay safe, but have fun, and we'll see you back here next week.
See you next week. Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test.
Bonjour. That was a really funny part in Inglourious Bastards, where Brad Pitt is pretending to be that Italian guy, and the guy speaks to him Italian, and he goes, Buongiorno. He was so brilliant in that.